Hey guys, so I'm really pleased to be able to introduce you to my friend Kimberly Wyatt from the Pussycat Dolls today. Kimberly, how's it going?
It's good, thank you, and hello to everybody watching.
So Kimberly is obviously a member of the award-winning group, the Pussycat Dolls, and we thought it'd be great to speak to her about music video and her career and other media elements. So Adrian is here as well. He's going to be asking questions too. So Adrian, do you want to start?
So a lot of the kids will be doing sort of for their final major projects, Kimberly, things like music videos, or kind of magazines, and probably thinking about having a talent on the front and kind of what Paul and I wanted to do is kind of from your kind of perspective as an artist, kind of get your perspective on how things work in terms of music videos, in terms of kind of magazines or any promo stuff. So particularly in music videos, so the questions I'm going to ask are probably what the kids will kind of want to ask, you know. So as an artist, what creative input do you have on music videos, Kimberly?
Well, I'm in a unique position because the Pussycat Dolls started as a show. So it was around for almost 10 years before I joined. So the way that we operate is quite different than a lot of other music artists out there. There's a creator who, when we first started, partnered up with Interscope with Jimmy Iovine. And so they kind of owned the brand Pussycat Dolls, and then we were all part of it. So as far as the creative, we would get to sort of hear the music that they were wanting to push, and we sort of were almost, in a sense, the last to know. We would get into the rehearsal studio about 4 days before the video, and it was just about learning the choreography and getting it down to the perfect extent. Because you get on the music video set, it's the most intense workspace because you've got a very short amount of time to get a whole lot done, and you have to factor Pussycat Doll hair and makeup and wardrobe into that, which takes some time. But once you step on stage or onto the music video shoot, it is just hammering it out, shot after shot after shot after shot, and you can't mess up, because you know that mess up could end up in that music video, because we don't have editorial control. It kind of is what it is, and you're left with whatever you get. Again, other artists are way different. Lady Gaga, Cardi B, loads of artists get to create the ideas. They get to go in and decide, you know, what things they're pulling from, references, whether it's Andy Warhol or Fosse or Busby Berkeley or whatever it might be. And they get to meet with the directors and really be a huge part of that process. Now, I was able to do that as a solo artist when I did projects like Her Majesty and the Wolves. But when it came to Pussycat Dolls, it was already a show, so you're just plugging into a machine, and a lot is expected of you, so you have to bring your A game. And there's been times in videos where I went out and, like Don't Ya, I was still sort of on the cutting room floor of, like, am I going to be in this group or not? People weren't quite sure yet, so I had a lot to prove. And in Don't Ya, there's even a shot where we come down the banister, which I did about 40 feet of banister on my tummy to get down, because I knew it was going to look amazing. And then when I got to my spot, because it took so much to get there, I lost my heels along the way. And there are a few shots in Don't You where I'm in sort of the back doing the dance in my socks. But yeah, it's just a completely different thing with the Pussycat Dolls in comparison with a lot of other artists. But I think a huge part of what was fun about stepping outside of the Dolls, again, is really being part of that creative process. And I think a big part of that is having references. References is so important because it's so hard to convey what you want when you have a vision. So you've got to bring references to show color palettes or how graphic you want it. Or Busby Berkeley is a huge inspiration of mine. He was back from the golden era. He did all these shots. It was real symmetrical and legs and things. They kind of had this movement. It was usually shots overhead. Fosse is a huge inspiration for the Pussycat Dolls and for me, and it's just in the way that you move in your body, and it's a vibe that you portray. So I think references is really important, and to this day, you know, trying to get an idea across is so difficult. So PowerPoints, video presentations, anything you can have to help a team understand what you're wanting to create, I think is so important, especially for a video shoot. You can't get to the video shoot and make it up as you go. I guess you can, but if you want to create something really perfect that's been something you've been dreaming of, you've got to come prepared.
So you guys have been part of that process before you arrive on set then?
Definitely. For the dolls, it's all about the preparation. So we get in the studio a good 4 days before the video, and it's 8 to 12 hours in the studio every day, figuring out what the choreography is, figuring out the moods, the movements, and also costumes is a huge one, and being able to dance like we do in those costumes. So having pieces that we can bring to figure out, okay, I have this long skirt, how is it going to work when I'm doing these moves and walking in heels? There's quite an art to it.
So with respect to the recent React video, is that much higher budget than the previous videos? Because I know, like, it seems when artists relaunch, you've kind of come back after 10 years. It seems like the labels suddenly chuck loads of money at the video and that kind of thing. Was that a really high budget video?
So it's a bit opposite actually for us, because we had so much pumped into us having worked with Jimmy Iovine, especially. He really believed in it, and we had really good big budgets for a lot of our videos. Now React was a big budget as well, but especially in comparison with everything. But as the times have changed, video budgets are getting lower and lower and lower and lower. So you have to be creative with a lot less money. So the ideas are so important. And like, we shot that, we did more, we danced harder, and had less time than we ever had before. And that's just a sign of the times.
And was that shot in the UK or America?
That was in LA, it was.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I was speaking to Sonique on Monday, and hers were all shot in LA as well. So it seems like a lot of them are shot in America now.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So students get saving.
Flights to LA.
Totally. Totally.
So do you know, during the shoot then, Kimberly, it sounds really intense, and you don't, obviously time is money, isn't it, in that industry? So, are you able to kind of stand back from the kind of the production and go, actually, that's not working, or how does that work? How do you get engaged during the shoot?
It's intense because we were in the studio. We had the director of photography, lighting, people that were building the rigs for us. They all came to the studio so we could show them the sort of choreography we were after. And we were trying to mark it out. We could use tape on the floor to mark out what sort of dimensions we were going to have once we stepped onto the floor. So we're trying to work it all out. What we found was that even though we met with everybody and we thought we were all on the same page, when we stepped into the situation on the day, a lot of those tight spaces were even tighter than we thought. The fire was closer. The water was a bit different, so you kind of have to be a little bit malleable. And there was bits of choreography we were so excited to share, but it was impossible to fit it in the space. And in those moments, because like you said, the time is money. The feeling of like almost anxiety, of panic, of oh my God, what are we going to do, is certainly there. And I think being able to manage that and be able to suck it up, take a deep breath, and be able to communicate about solutions rather than problems was a huge part of it. And ultimately, we had to sacrifice a little bit of the choreography in order to just get the video done. So as much as people want to talk crap about us and try and bring us down because of the provocative nature of the Pussycat Dolls, they've got it wrong. Like, what we're doing is making choices that we can dance and perform in and feel like fierce warrior princesses when we're out there, showing people it's okay to own your space, own your sexuality, your sensuality, and your confidence. It's an important exploration.
Wicked.
It's interesting you say that. I knew someone who was a cabaret dancer, and she would position herself, she would say she was a real feminist. In fact, she was. And I said, doesn't that kind of contradict in terms of what you were doing on stage? She said, no, because I felt so empowered. She goes, it was my body and I was doing what I wanted with it. And, sure, men were rocking up and paying lots of money to see her kind of troupe. But she said she just felt so empowered, just like what you said, on stage. It was, it's quite a refreshing way of looking at feminism, I suppose, isn't it?
Totally. And I think that the one thing I'm thankful for is at least it's getting this conversation, it's sort of continuing that conversation. Because like X Factor, it was a huge, 1,000 people have commented about how horrific it was for our children. And I'm sitting there 6 weeks after cesarean, after having a baby, I had put every ounce of myself into that performance. For me, the costumes, Nicole's had some serious cleavage going on. She's got a great body to show off, fair enough. But I didn't feel like I had, I didn't take 2 steps back from my empowerment. If anything, I stepped into it, having just had a baby 6 weeks previous to that. And I was still breastfeeding. Like I was in rehearsals, breastfeeding my baby, getting back and doing the work. Breastfeeding the baby, getting back and doing the work. Like, for me, it was the biggest challenge of my life, and to think that media was still trying to create this thing, it just kind of blew over my head. And if anything, it spurs me on to get in, and I teach dance around the country. I've been doing my 12:30 live sessions on Instagram and teaching some of the Pussycat Dolls choreography, because I think there's a misunderstanding about dance and performance, and people are trying to make it something that it's not. And it's important that I feel I go out there and I teach kids and people and adults. I do a lot of work with kids on CBBC and CBBS, whether it's cooking or being Sasha Small, a hardcore manager in the music business, who's horrific, who's brilliant, it's so much fun to play. But I feel like if there's a misunderstanding, I want to go out there and start teaching people that they don't need to hate what they don't understand. So I just want them to help, understand it a little bit more, really.
Amazing. So finally, I think, thank you so much for your time. What's the one piece of advice you would give our students that are particularly interested in music video production and how to get into that? Obviously, you've worked with a lot of directors and producers as well. What advice would you give someone that wants to make music videos?
I think a big part of being on the side of choosing a director for a music video is a vibe. Being able to do incredible PowerPoints is essential, because ultimately that's what you're selling yourself on, is an incredible vision, and being able to explain that vision broken down with the music, so that you're creating a scene and you're thinking, you're forward thinking in these ideas, so that you're helping this artist stand out, as well as listening to the lyrics and the beats and bringing that to life within that treatment is so important, and what every artist is looking for. And I think as a director, you've got to put your stamp on it. And that goes for everybody that is a creative. You have to have your stamp. So as a director, like, what is your thing? Like, when you think of Hype Williams, like, that he's got a certain aesthetic about the way that he does it. When you look at movies like Quentin Tarantino, you know what you're getting. I think that's important even as a director of music videos, because people, you kind of want to know what you're dipping into. And if somebody's got a stamp in the way that they bring things. Joseph Kahn is one, he's perfect. He's like, he did When I Grow Up, and another video. He is glossy. He knows how to make things shine. He knows how to make colors pop. He knows how to create something that's just going to kind of makes you look at it. So Joseph Kahn has always had this incredible stamp. Francis Lawrence, who went on to be an incredible movie director, he did Buttons, which won us an award as well. There was just a slickness to the way that he would bring music videos to life, and maybe he would cut back on the color and make it more aesthetic in the black and white, almost contrasty nature of it. Even on like the guys that we're working for on a creative spot, when it comes to visuals, where it's really bold, it's really black and white, it's really contrasty at the moment. So we know that when we work with Bronski, that's what we're getting. So I think having a stamp and a clear identity as a director is important, as well as being able to put a treatment that sells something exciting and sells the message as much as the visual.
Amazing.
What an answer. Fantastic.
Anything more from you, Aid, or are you good?
No, that's fantastic.
That's great.
So good.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Really
thanks for having
it.
me, and I hope it helps everybody that gets to watch.
Amazing. Thanks, Kim. I'll see you soon. All right.
Defo.
Take care.